everybody else goes to school, such that they don't miss school, or if they are in school, they don't get sent home. So these are stressors. Mentally sick people have very low ability to handle stress. So any slight stressor triggers worse.
It catalyzes things.
It catalyzes things and makes their reaction over the top. Their reaction could be extreme depression or extreme excitement. Money, for example, is a stressor. Did you know that? Mentally sick people spend like crazy. They can't save. They get money and they urge to spend, because remember, they are being controlled by hormonal imbalances. And they get a euphoric high from money. That's dopamine. The chemical that is being affected in the brain is dopamine. The opposite of dopamine, which has a calming effect, is serotonin. Dopamine is what you get when you smoke, when you
get
drink
a notification,
alcohol, when you get a bank alert on your WhatsApp. That's that feeling of euphoria.
Actually, musicians have dopamine as well. When we sing, we have dopamine as well.
So these chemicals are good.
Yes, but when it's so extreme, it's in excess, it can become bad.
Damaging.
Yes.
This is how you find a person who started off with one glass of wine or one bottle of beer, now crashing a full crate and they don't get drunk. Because they need an extra dose,
a stronger
of that
dose
substance
to get
the next level of the dopamine. They have now gone beyond the safe measure. That's why you find people who are addicted to social media. If they get fewer likes than 1,000, they get depressed.
It's a problem.
Yes.
It's a problem.
Likes and shares. It's common with young women. You find this beautiful model on Instagram, but she commits suicide.
Yes.
Because she was addicted. She had a dopamine addiction. And it's being influenced by drugs and alcohol. It's being influenced by all manner of substances.
Wow. This is deep.
Wow.
I told you I did research on mental health.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, looking back, so I forgot to ask earlier on, how are the kids handling all this? How old are the kids? You had told me earlier on, but I forgot. One is a teenager. Yeah?
We have 3 children. I say we, but me.
Yeah,
I have 3 children. My first son is 15. My second is 10, and my third is 9. Yeah, they're all boys.
Boys, how did they... all this through, did they see this episodes?
Yes.
As they were growing up, they experienced some of these episodes.
All
their
of
mama.
All of them.
Yes.
Now they are
She would
aware.
flip in the car as we're driving home from work and school. She would flip at home. She would flip in the bedroom, in the kitchen, in the sitting room, everywhere. She had no control of where. Oftentimes we adults, when we don't agree, we don't expose the children.
Yes.
We go to our bedroom or we walk out of the house. Or if me as a man, I'm just not feeling in the right spaces, I take a walk. And I come back when I've cooled down. I take a jog, I go play a sport, go swim, whatever. Or we listen to music, loud sounding music with my earphones on. Then I jog aggressively, I sweat it out, I come back, the anger has dissipated. I shower and I sleep and I'm calm. For her, she had no control of her anger. Zero. Whatever emotions she felt at that time, she would unleash it in words and even more in actions. Sometimes the words was the common one, but occasionally, like I said, every other maybe quarter or so, she would have a physical breakdown. And she would flip plates on the walls.
Oh, so the kids were aware of this?
Yes.
And you had schooled them on how to handle this?
Initially, I had not told them, but they would observe. But my job as a father was to comfort them. Even for her, my job as her husband was to comfort her also. So the next day, when she should be feeling so bad and crying torrents of tears, even offering to cook breakfast and serve me in bed, clean up after herself, and offer to even replace the broken plates and cups, offer to replace the wall hangings that had all been smashed. I would say, never mind, it's okay, we'll work something out. Because I didn't want her to feel worse, because the after effects are worse. Every high has a low.
Yes.
It's followed by a low. Yes. Every high is followed by a terrible low. So she would feel terrible about herself. She would cry a lot. She would try and take us out for dinners and whatnot with the kids and say, it's on me. This time it's me paying. Let not daddy pay. So I made sure to also protect her from herself, such that she doesn't, this feeling of melancholy and sadness and depression doesn't get even worse. That's how we managed 17 good years.
Yes.
Because the signs were there even before we got married. And also the grace. God's grace allowed me that ability to hang in there,
to handle it. You couldn't have done it alone. Human strength. It's incredible. This till death do us part. Like we earlier said, when we are speaking, when you're making those vows, we are oblivious of what we are saying until you get into the marriage itself and you face an extreme situation like this one. I'm so sure, Joseph, if you look back, you're not regretting marrying your wife.
That's a hard question. Don't tempt me, please.
I totally understand.
That's a very unfair question.
Yeah.
I think that when you look, like this morning we had a privilege of talking to Dr. Kasenini, and he said that one of the greatest things a person can do for themselves is forgive themselves. And he said, you have to walk around saying it. I say it out loud. I forgive myself. I'm not saying you made a mistake to marry her, but when you say that is a very unfair question, I believe when you look back and you maybe the gentleman that was working at her house that talked to you, the men, the pastors, the spiritual leaders that talk to you could have been signs of, listen. But then, of course, love took over and you ended up together. But then, even then, out of this marriage, you have 3 beautiful, wonderful sons. You have these 17 years and you have lived with this woman, landscaper, beautiful. When you travel around Kampala, you see her work. Those are things that you look at and you know definitely some things didn't work out, but some did.
You're taking the words out of my mouth.
But some did. So we want to say, yes, you can say that's an unfair question, and I don't want you to answer it if you don't want to. But I'm trying to make it clear that even in those years, you might have some regrets. You might have missed some, some moments that you could have enjoyed. But out of this, like the Bible says, all things work together for the good of those who are. There is a calling out of it. There are children out of it. There's beautiful things she did. We can finally celebrate her life. Maybe according to God's plan, she ended up in the right hands.
Joseph.
She lived her purpose. We know it affected, mental illness affected her, but she left a mark and she will be remembered.
Yeah,
thank you.
And through her lifestyle, her life or her life experience, someone else is going to be helped. Now, your journey, Mr. Joseph, could start today. And God will perhaps do something even better. And you will have fun where you didn't have fun. We don't know about that. But definitely God knows.
Beth, wow. Like I said, you've taken the words right out of my mouth. Now, Lawrence's question. I will still say it's unfair. Man, Lawrence, sikupendi sana.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I'm joking.
Yeah.
At her funeral, I gave 2 eulogies.
Yeah.
One at my home, at the first funeral, at the memorial service, and the second one at the second memorial service or funeral service at my home in the village. And as I was concluding my speech, if you go on YouTube, you'll see it at the conclusion of my speech. I said, by the way, not all was bad. I cracked jokes. Cracking jokes at a funeral, how hard it is. When people are crying and they laugh. It's not easy. But I was cracking jokes at the tail end of my speech. What was I saying? I was saying it was not all gloom and doom.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was not all bad. I could not have had these kids by myself. at the age at which they arrived in my life, my first son is 15. They would not have been these very same kids, even if I'd gotten married to another person. Who knows, I would have probably not even gotten married. Who knows how my life would have panned out. Who knows if I would have ended up in a reckless lifestyle. Lawrence and I have been working together. He's my ghostwriter on my book project with Julius Lubanga, Betty O'Giel's husband. And in chapter 2, I think it was when he talked about my marriage life. That book is still incomplete. There are about 2 or 3 chapters left. We've paused for too long because I was dealing with too much.
I understand.
To sort of focus on finishing it. But I mentioned the fact that getting married early in life aligns a young man or a young woman to their vision early.
Yeah, that was very clear in the book.
It was and their focus. And therefore, it was not accidental that my work scaled as much as it did early in my career. I'm a young man, but I've done so much more things. I have organizations where I lead where people are 65 years old, 25 years older than myself. And that's again divine grace.
Yes.
So I don't want, God makes no mistakes. Impossible. So that marriage was divinely approved because we said our vows in front of a minister, in front of a religious leader, and before the law of the government of Uganda. We are fully registered with URSB, and as well as before God and men. So I don't want to think of it as a mistake. So the short answer to your question is that. However, in so doing that, despite the challenges, she gave me 3 wonderful sons. Amazing, talented, brilliant boys. Whoa.
Each of them unique and different.
My kids. I keep saying that I hit the jackpot. With my kids, I hit the jackpot. And they came out of an imperfect union. Because unions will always be imperfect. Because these are 2 imperfect humans. So the speech that I gave in the village, I was saying that in as much as our marriage was stressed out by her mental illness, I wanted to build an imperfectly perfect home.
Wow.
I use those words.
That's the title of a movie.
I wanted to build an imperfectly perfect home. And as the head of that home, it was my responsibility to keep the seams together, even when they were threatening to tear apart, to rip the cloth apart. It was my job to look for extra threading and extra stronger needles and keep tightening that threading together. Even if it was hard to do that, even if it caused my fingers to hurt in this process of doing that. So I guess that is a simple answer to the question.
That's a good one. So even as we come to a close of this episode today on Solid Jamas, I want you, let me ask this question. If we were to speak to a Solid Jama out there, a man who is experiencing an imperfect union, so to speak, knowing what you now know, knowing that it's till death do us part, what have you learned that can help someone to stay in the union and to make it better if it's up to them?
Wow. That's a very, very good question. It's true, there is no simple marriage. Even without mental illness.
Yes. Mr. Namali. You can. There's no simple marriage.
Even without the stress of mental illness. There are so many other stressors that can destabilize a couple. Finances these days is a big factor that leads couples to rift apart from each other. Children. The dynamic of raising children. You can disagree on parenting styles. Of course,
alcohol,
the use of substances, alcohol or drugs, long periods of unemployment, especially on the part of the husband who is traditionally expected to be the breadwinner. Now that brings in the other financial complications.
Religion,
differences of faith. You get into the union, one is of a different faith, you don't practice the same faith, or along the marriage, one ceases to practice the faith and changes, or simply drifts apart from the ethos and the values that drove you together. If you were both Muslim at the start of your marriage and along the way one of you left and became a Christian, it will stress out both of you or one of you and could potentially lead to a breakup. Of course, the easy one, which we all know about, is sexual. infidelity. That's an easy one. It's an easy one. But there's